Calling one and all internationally, the Ras Freeman Foundation for the Unification of Rastafari presents the 14th CRO Assembly to be held in Antigua and Barbuda from the 6th to the 10th of December 2018.
Honorable King, give us a word sound as it relates to the upcoming conference, my Lord. Blessed Lord.
I want to say greetings in the name of the Most High, Yale, Jah, Rastafari. Well, this was an idea of the King Frankai, and I think that is a very good idea. And we are working towards to make that be possible, you see, because I think that the earth has reached to a stage now where Rastafari has to become a reckoning force, you know, because we've been suppressed for actually 50 years and many more hundreds of years. This is something that is going, it's a black redemption. And I Rastafari are the forerunners, are the vanguard of the nation. And I here want to bring about or establish a conference that we can have, according to our prophet Marcus Messiah God, which says one God, one aim, and one destiny. Because we are at a crucial juncture in our earth today, where we've seen all other races defending ourselves, don't love us at all. And we've been marginalized and victimized and depressed, and now we think that the time has come when it is vital and right for us to meet and discuss and the way forward as a nation of people. And I think that is a very great opportunity, and we're inviting people from all over the world, Rastafari, that we can come together and discuss the theological aspect of Rastafari. According to Divine Majesty Emperor Selassie, this is neither your way nor my way, this is Rastafari way. So I think that a lot of strange knowledge and all kind of differences out there, we need to come together to discuss about ourselves and our faith. And this is what we're projecting in Wadadli today. We're calling for a universal gathering that we can hear and exchange ideas about an opinion and philosophy of the Rastafari movement, that we can get a clearer understanding the way forward. Because I must accept the fact there are many different illusionist concepts out there. People have lax on the head ball and everybody about Rastafari. But we want to bring about and to establish the permanent. And I believe that we got it. We have it. I believe that God bless us with that. And I are people who compromise Rastafari. I are people who make up story. Rastafari is the original everything. So we're calling for this gathering so we can hear the great minds come together and we can sit down and form a link up the Caribbean Rastafari and make our voice be heard internally and externally, because I'm very serious thing I carry on in the earth. Highly high. For now, this is King Sagaifo. Greetings in the name of the Most High God, Rastafari.
Bless the Lord.
On the agenda, the Nyabingi Tabernacle consecration, discussion on cannabis production and legislation, reparations, repatriation, and the connection with the African Union, CPAN and CARICOM, education, health, the youth, and much more on the agenda. So to all Rastafari friends and well-wishers who desire to be in Antigua for this gathering, please email rasta5349@gmail.com. That's rasta5349@gmail.com, or coyote@hotmail.com, KIYODE@hotmail.com, or call area code 268-732-9741. Calling one and all internationally, the Ras Freeman Foundation for the Unification of Rastafari presents the 14th CRO Assembly to be held in Antigua and Barbuda from the 6th to the 10th of December 2018. See you there.
and brethren, let me freely speak. Of David the prophet.
Once again, we do say salam to each and everyone. Welcome now to the Shock of the Hour. This evening, as I said before, we will be going into the Bible, reading between the lines. And this is just the first of a series of programs that I'll be doing on the Holy Bible. And we will be, as I said, subtitled Reading Between the Lines. And we'll be, looking at certain aspects of the Bible, and we'll be looking at it from the level of going into the story itself and sussing out, how the story was put together then, its makeup. So in other words, as far as the history of the Bible, I'm sure there are many that are listening that will say, well, we want to know the origin of the Bible and where the Bible came from, and what about King James? And you see, because we hear these questions almost every single day, that is why it's necessary to at least have a mind frame of the psychology of the people, where the people are, what the people are thinking about, what questions the people are asking, because they're the ones that really want to know. But that is why from time to time I like to point people to where we have covered these subjects already, so we don't keep a merry-go-round sort of atmosphere. We keep saying the same thing because certain things have been covered in depth. Now I would agree some people have just joined the train, and some people have been here for a while, but they just like conversation. They don't really take the time to sit down properly on their meditation and sit down properly on the information that they have and really take it in and utilize it and even apply it to their life. So they're always on a quest. They just like to intellectually have debates and talk and see how much you know and how much they know and this kind of things. And but you have to take the information and apply it to your life, brothers and sisters. If you don't do that, it's going to be a game. It's just going to be like you just floated around. You just always want to know this and know that and have a conversation, and it was nice talking to you. And no, this is not entertainment. This is reality, and all of what we're speaking of here, even if it seems like it's just some good talk, it has a lot to do with applying it, has a lot to do with your psychology, even in a time as now, So, as I said, we will be going into now the Genesis story of Noah. And you may say, well, since we're having a series, why didn't we start at the beginning? Well, that's why I'm going to start with Noah, because remember, Noah's story is the creation story. That's the creation story of the Bible. Well, not the creation story, pardon me. One of the several creation stories of the Bible, where there are, between even 4 and 5. So I just decided to take this one, since it's the creation story. That's what Genesis means, Genesis, the creation, the genealogy of Isis. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do some reading, so you really have to tiger with me here tonight. We're going to read Genesis 6, 7, and probably 8. I'm not sure. But what I want you to kind of look out for, because this is not no quiz, this is not no test. This is just, we're coming straight, so at least when I read, you could already begin to take in the vibration. Now, I think we all understand the story of Noah. We have a basic understanding. If you ask the regular person to give you an understanding, a little in-depth understanding, they may be able to carry you back as far as, well, mankind was really living a very evilous way upon the earth, and the sons of God came down and had daughters and had children, with the daughters of men, and corruption came on the earth, and the Almighty was displeased, and he called Noah and showed Noah, well, this is what's going on, and you have to build a boat, an ark, and where you have 2 of every animal, put them in, because they're going to destroy the world. And so you put in 2 of every animal in the boat, you and your 3 sons and their wives and your wife, and you go in the boat and you close the door, and are going to flood the whole planet, and then the water is going to kill everything that's not in your boat. And then when the flood is over, you open the boat and you and everything come out and replenish the earth again. Basically, that's it, Yeah, in a nutshell, that's it. Yeah, there you go. So, we're going to read Genesis chapter 6 now, and do a little reading in Genesis chapter 7. And I don't want to comment as I'm going along, but you could take your time and look for the differences within it, because I'm going to take it from a scholarly level, according to the scholarship, and that is from the theologians. This is not even us speaking now. The writers of this story, there are actually 2 writers for the story of the Genesis chapter 6 and 7. Now, I don't mean Moses and somebody else, You must understand, in the study of biblical science now, there's no prejudice here. There's no partiality neither. It is just the truth. It is obvious when research is done that the Genesis story of Noah has two penmanship. Now, within the study, the clergy study of the writings of the books and the manuscript, the Bible, it is divided into the J writer, the P writers, and the E writers. So you would hear one speaking about the J scripts, one will speak about the P scripts and the P fragments. So anytime you hear this word sound, anything like that, and the E scripts, it's the Elohimis, the priestly, and the Yahwehs. E and P and J, and the Yahwehs is a J. You understand the J, and there's no J and all of that. So Noah's story now, according to them, the professors, these are Jewish professors and German professors, basically the same thing, telling you now that the Noah story was written by some J authors and some P authors, some priestly authors and some Yahweh's authors. And this is all politics, Freemasonic politics happening here. Because in the collaboration of the book, the Bible there, putting it together, and when I'm speaking the Bible, I'm talking before King James Version of Bible. We're going as far as the Gothic Bible, even the different, the Leonard Grad and these Bibles, that putting them together, the story now within it, as the way we know it now, it was like a political back and forth battle. I used to have a little Bible. I still have the Bible there. It's just that that page is gone. We're at the beginning, it refers to King James as the Most High. The Most High King James. That's pure politics there, obviously. So there are always those who were always willing to inject their political views, their theological views, their personal views into the Bible, because they had the political power. They were given the mandate. They were the translators. They were one of the key writers. And again, they had their own political view. They were backing Herod. They loved Caesar. This is the reality of life. So as we look at the Bible as the holy word of God, well, even if it was so 2,000 years ago, after going through the mill, it has become tampered with, corrupted, watered down, and some other words you can find for it. And it's just the truth. You can find the truth within it, obviously, as we have found so many times. But to go blindly as if, well, no, this is just the word of God, and not understand the hands that play around with it. The Noah story, brothers and sisters, is literally written twice, right before your eyes. The theologians could tell you exactly which verse is the Yahweh's verse and which verse is the priestly verse. Which verse is the Yahweh's verse and which verse is the priestly verse. Very similar to what is done in Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2, where you have two distinct creation stories. Two, they're not the same one. One is done by the hands of Elohim, and one is done by the hands of Yahweh. God and the Lord ain't the same person. Oh, come on, man. I know it sounds strange. They're not the same, man. Not the same. Remember, Elohim is the plural form of the El, Elohim. And Yahweh, which is considered now the Most High, but yet still when you go through certain works, even Kun Boyd and these different ones, and the Elohim, you name out the Elohim, Yahweh is amongst the Elohim.
So in Genesis, I mean, that's a serious thing. So in Genesis chapter 1, you have the creation done by the Elohim, not Yahweh, no, the Elohim. But in Genesis chapter 2, it is Yahweh specifically doing the creation. That's some serious stuff. And the creation is even slightly different. That's some real stuff. If you can't ride with that and you know, adapt that and explain that properly, you gotta look into that seriously, because it doesn't really go according to the flow of how we've been taught in Sunday school. You know what I mean? God and the snake in the garden and the apple and the naked people, and we roll with that stuff. But when you read it properly with understanding, there's nothing even close to that. Nothing like that going on. So in the same way, you have two creation stories in Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2. Yeah. The scholars clearly tell you that the two Noah stories have been pasted together almost into one in Genesis chapter 6, 7, and 8. That is what they say. Written by the P and the Y. The E is not known to be the P and the Y, the priestly and the Yahwehs. Okay. Let's read this here first. Genesis chapter 6, Tiger with me now. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, with men, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. All right. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Wow, who them they be so? The God saw that the wickedness of men was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of heart was only evil continually. Wow. Wait, let me see this again. And God saw the wickedness of men was great in the earth. Who? God, right. And that every imagination and the thoughts of his heart is only evil continually. Right. And it repented the Lord, okay, that he made men on the earth. And it grieved him in his heart. That's interesting too. It repented the Lord. That's a very serious thing, you know what I mean? You're not mocking the Creator, you know, to say these things. You're trying to understand the Bible. I find it very interesting in the book of Samuel. I can't pull the chapter right out my head right now, but we have spoken about it already. We have highlighted it where Samuel, in the book of Samuel, God said that he is God and he does not repent. And in the very same chapter now, it says, and God repented that he made Saul the king. Same chapter, okay. And it repented the Lord that he had made men on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy men whom I have created from the face of the earth, both men and beasts, and the creeping things and the fowls of the air, for it repented me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. These are the generations of Noah. Okay. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Now you could feel the story change. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with God. Okay. And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth was also corrupt before God.
earth was also corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all the flesh was corrupted in his ways, had corrupted his ways, upon the earth. For all flesh had corrupted his ways upon the earth. The animals too? Maybe it's humans. Got to be talking about them men. And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them in the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shall thou make in the ark, and shall pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits. Hear that? 300 cubits. That's the length of the ark. 300 cubits. Okay. The breadth of it 50 cubits. And the height of the ark 30 cubits. You hear what he's saying here? How high the ark be? 30 cubits. Okay. And and a window shall thou make in the ark. A window, no, a window. What is this? You mean one window? Anyway, let's continue. A window thou shalt make in the ark, and in a cubit thou shalt finish it above, and the door of the ark thou shalt set in the side thereof. With lower, second, and third story shalt thou make it. And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth, to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life, from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee, and every living thing of all flesh, two of every sort shall thou bring into the ark. Hear that? And of every living thing, every ant, mosquito, not just leopard and giraffe, because remember, that's what's in our head. Noah's Ark. 2 bears. You know how much different type of bears they have? Not just polar bears, grizzly bears.
Yes, I know flower this on the ends, representing the flames. Yo, the one after the honorable priest Isaac. Some boy fi know this. Hear me now. Antigua are the place where priest Isaac dwell. Ancient Israel, ancient story fi tell. Yes, yes, up a Lalibela where the monk them a dwell. With them mescal, them a broke evil spell. Priest Isaac is an angel. Mystic vibration is an angel. And them nah go rebel. In a Zion where we dwell. When we broke for them spell. Priest Isaac is an angel. Yes, he's my angel. His foundations in the whole mountain. Priest Isaac on the whole mountain. Him block a reverence on the whole mountain. Him chant a psalm on the whole mountain. But never hesitate for yell the king. I take a Isaro Einin. So proud yes to be an offspring. Mystic vibration of the people them a sing. Angel, mystic vibration is an angel. And them nah go rebel. In a Zion where him dwell. When we broke for them spell. Priest Isaac is an angel. Yes, he's my angel. Priest Isaac is an angel. Mystic vibration is an angel. And them nah go rebel. In a Zion where we dwell. When we broke for them spell. Priest Isaac is an angel. Yes, he's my angel. trod on the banks of the gully. Isaac trod it through the hills and the valley. Trod it through the town, through the bloody city. Highly, 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 always with we. Highly, 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 I protect we. Highly, 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 I would never leave we.
There's polar bears and grizzly bears and brown bears and black bears and panda bears and the cats. But when you go into the insect world alone bust your brain, man. What are you talking about? Anyway, because we already spoken about the experiments that have been done several times, where the dimensions of the ark, the 300 cubits and the 50 cubits, and a cubit is, if I'm not mistaken, about 1.5 feet is a cubit. 1.5 feet is a cubit. How long? 1.5 feet. If it's not exactly that, well, it's close enough, but a cubit. So they have attempted to build the boat of Noah already. And they've done it. They can build that. That ain't not to build, with the one window and everything. Yeah. And scientists have clearly showed, boss, if you were to take out the insects, and the insects are a lot, and take a quarter of the rest of the animals that remain as far as the species on the earth, half of that still could not fit in that boat that's created. You understand? So when we bring science into this, that story, if taken in the literal form, becomes very, very, very impossible. It is the sheer miracle of God that have to step into this, man. There's certain stories in the Bible that there's no way you can bring this to no reality unless you bring in the powers, the full dynamic powers of God to just balance this story off. This bigger than death and resurrection and virgin birth, this Noah flood story, just for you to believe that it happened, like really happened the way that you're supposed to believe it happened, is impossible. I would not even say the way it was written, because it was not written in one form. It's like the Gospels. Every Gospel have its different twist to the same story. And as you're reading this, you can see you're reading more than one story. Listen to this. Of the fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing, of the earth after his kind, two of every sort shall come unto thee to keep them alive. They shall come. So he didn't have to go look for them. Snail and so, they have certain type of turtles, certain animals that don't move too fast, and you only find them in certain spots of the planet. What is this? Yeah. But anyway, two of every kind shall come to thee. How long will it take them beetles to reach? I mean, that's what I'm saying now. You may say, brother, when God is involved, I understand your point. That's what I'm saying. That is only the sheer miracle of the miracles. To me, this is a bigger miracle than Moses dropping his snake, his rod, and it turned into a snake. This here, for you to accept that the Noah flood was the Noah flood as the way we were supposed to consider Noah flood, brother, that is the most dynamic thing that has ever happened. Ever. Cockroach and so on, man. So I mean, I could understand those things may have been close by,
but they have specific exotic animals. If it's where was Noah? Well, the Middle Eastern part. Okay, they have animals that you don't find up there. Species, and remember, this Noah stuff is just 5,000 years ago. This is not millions of years. This is 5,000 years ago. We are supposed to accept all of that as well. So that means that the species of animals was not. This is not the dinosaur age. It was not that vast a difference as now. And in fact, now we are losing species because of mankind. In fact, there's so many species of animals. Every day they're discovering a new frog, some new lizard, some new cat. Every day. Madagascar, in the Amazon, in India, in Africa. I tell you, they have some specific type of snails, the man. Some turtles. The sloth. You know the sloth, the slow moving animal. And you only find them in certain places of the earth. You know what I mean? Certain type of monkeys. Because the scripture said they shall come unto Noah, Yeah, stuff, alright. Verse 21 says, and take thou unto thee of all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee, and it shall be for food for thee and for them. Now that answers the question. The people always ask, so what the animal them eat? And I hear, you see, this is what religion do to you now. This is what religion do to you. I've heard pastors argue that the animals became vegetarians. All of them. For the time. Because the question is, since there was no animals there, what did the animals eat? And they're quick to say they come vegetarian, but look, God tell Noah to get all the food for what the animals eat. So if you have carnivores there, just like if you have animals in the zoo, don't you buy some frozen chicken for them? Or get a live goat and throw it over in the lions or the tigers den there? You get live animals. So who is not to say that Noah already slaughtered some animals? Because if he could pull off the miracle of gathering all them animals, he must be able to kill some cattle and some oxen and some sheep for the animal eaters. Oh, come on, priest, that's impossible. So how long is those animals gonna stay there before they start to rot? No. In fact, as we have done the program on carnivores, remember, rotten flesh is good for some of these carnivores. The hyena, it doesn't bother them. They're not gonna get sick just for 40 days, a month. I'm sure Noah has some sort of level of technology. Our old parents, my father, my literal father, there's a technique we call corning, where you put a lot of salt on the fish and on the eel and on these different things, and they preserve better than if you throw them in the freezer. That's corning, you call it. So I'm sure Noah, as an old elder man, knows the technology, the science of corning flesh, where you put on the salt and you suck, the moisture out of it, and the flesh, the meat will remain until you're ready to use it. It's just a reality. So I'm sure Noah did that if the story is true. I don't think they became no vegetarian. You're too religious. Before you take your time and study your story properly, so you can give a sensible answer. You're so accustomed to this buffoonery. You're talking about, they all became vegetarians. No. The man killed animals for them to eat, if the story is true. And the story is true, but not the way that we thinking of it as being true. No boat building, and no two animals going in, I don't believe in none of them kind of things. That's me personally. I just gotta let you know. But it is a true story, because it is the truth. When you understand it now, not just esoterically and the metaphor of it, because the mythology becomes reality, you know. This is a creation story. This is a creation story. This is more than a boat and animals, man. This is cosmics and black holes being talked about here. This is new and now net. You know? This is the creational first time story. Yeah. And thus did Noah according to all that God commanded him, so did he. Chapter 7. And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast thou shalt take thee by sevens. Oh. And the Lord said, Lord now, let's... And the Lord said, this is Genesis chapter 7 now, you know. But this is not like Genesis 1 and 2, you know. The Lord is still intermixed here with the God, you know, but you'd have to figure it out as you read. And the Lord said unto Noah, the P and the Y, the P and the J I'm speaking of. And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. And you know, I took away the mysticism of what the animals had to eat a while ago, you know. But what I'm saying it still has to be a miraculous thing, because remember, these animals have to defecate as well, you know. This is a serious mission, you know. This Noah's Ark mission, and I think even the mission to the moon can compare with what had to take place for Noah's Ark to fulfill. The flood was the flood was just like the sideshow in comparison. You think the flood is the miracle? Just to prepare for that. Man, look. Nancy story, brother. Judgment. Verse 2, of every clean beast thou shalt take in by sevens, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his females. Now if you're to follow these stories now, so you're trying to reenact this, you gotta choose one. Which one you're gonna choose? Say we're gonna do a play, we're putting on a play on Noah and the Ark. We have to choose which one we're gonna choose. That is why some people argue, and these are the scholars, that it is the Yahwehs that push the point of 40 days and 40 nights, while it is the priestly that says that the flood was for 150 days. Some say that the Yahwehs obviously push the Yahweh, and some says the priestly that is pushing the Elohim. In the Yahweh account, you don't really get specific dates and measurements. But in the priestly account, you get the exact dates and measurements and all of these things. This is where you get the whole aspects of the cubic. It is the Yahwehs that push the 7 clean animals, but the priestly push the 2 of every kind. You understand? So Genesis now chapter 3 says, of fowls also of the air by 7. Now they have some unclean fowl, do not, but of fowls also by the air, of the air by 7s, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noah did according to all that the Lord commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of the water was upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his son's wife into the ark, with him into the ark, because of the waters of the flood. Of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and everything that creepeth upon the earth, there went in two and two unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as God commanded Noah. Wait, what's going on here? It says here, no, let's get this true. It just said a while ago that the seven, it just said it, this is chapter 7, you know. And of clean beasts thou shalt take 7, yeah, male and female. It even went as far as to say, of fowls also of the air, by 7s, take them by 7s. Like, what about the unclean of the fowls, man? Whatever fowls they are, once they're flying, we want 7 each. All right. And then verse 8, verse 8 in the same chapter telling you of clean beasts and beasts that are not clean, and of fowls and of everything that creepeth upon the earth, there went in two and two unto Noah. That is to say, clean two, unclean two. Yes, them two. Unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as God had commanded Noah. Two authors, Ras. Two different stories. Which one you're going to choose? And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600 years of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, in the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. In the self same day Noah entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his son with them into the ark. Now some theologians argue this too, that there's so many doubles. The flood begins twice, the flood ends twice, they enter the ark twice. God shows his grievance for the people he created twice. He gives his commandments twice in this, because again it's 2 people, you know, or 2 writers, let's put it that way. They and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing, and that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, and every bird of every sort. And they went in unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. And they that went in male and female, of all flesh, as God has commanded him. And the Lord shut him in. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lifted above the earth. Wow, it sounds so dramatic, you know, man. the water's rising, brother. You could imagine, just like the story, man, and they taking up the ark, and the ark start to rock, and the penguin and the polar bear with the camels, all of them in the same boat, brother, and it's rocking and all kind of things, and yeah, this boat rising up. Nothing goes so. Give me a break. I know you're not friend. If you believe that, I mean, chap, if me and your friends, I mean, sorry to hurt your feelings, but that ain't how it go at all. That ain't how it go, man. What are you talking about? Who you upset with, me or this story here? Because you got it, this story needs a lot of checking, you know, if you're going to believe this. One writer says 40 days, one next writer says 150 days. And in my analogy, I always, because I know the story, I always thought that it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. But obviously when the rain stopped, the water is not going to just disappear. The water is going to subside or whatever it is. That makes sense to me. But I must say, verse 17, the words in verse 17 are very mystic. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth. Interesting language. It's that rain and the flood, chapter 7, verse 17. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth, and the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth. And the ark went in upon the face of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole earth were covered. 15 cubits upwards did the water prevail, and the mountains were covered. What are you talking about? The boat is 30 cubits high. The boat is 30 cubits high. The ark is 30 cubits high. Verse 20 says 15, not 50. And even 50 would be a joke. A cubit is 1.5 feet. A cubit is 1.5 feet. However you pronounce it. But the point is, the boat itself was 15 cubits in height. 30 cubits in height. Double the depths of the water. 15 cubits. Look it right there in the book. 15 cubits was the upwards. Did the water prevail? 15 cubits, that's the water that drowned everything, and the mountains were covered. Which mountain you cover with 15 cubits, brother? 22 feet of water. Which mountain you cover with that? So how did it? No, you can't ask me no question. This ain't me to answer nothing. I just reading what's in front of me. They taught us to read, you know, man, and comprehend. So I'm trying to comprehend. I'm not even trying to comprehend. I know what's going on. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail. Genesis chapter 7 verse 20. And the mountains were covered. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both fowl and cattle and of beasts, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the face of the earth, and all the men, all in whose nostrils were the breath of life, of all that were in the dry land died. And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both men and cattle, and the creeping thing and the well. This is really a double up story. See, saying it twice again, both man and beast, and creeping things and the fowls of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the face of the earth, and Noah only remained alive. You see all this already, man. And they that were with him on the ark, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. All right. Yeah. So basically, I think we can say that now we have answered at least the question of why one time it says 7 clean and 7 fowl in general, and then the next time is 2 of every animal, because it's 2 writers or 2 translators, whatever the case is. Because again, yes, it's important to bring in the history of this. And biblical history, as far as the history of the book itself, will teach us that it really has its modern day origin coming out of the translation of the Hebrew text into the Greek text known as the Septuagint from 200 and something AD in Alexandria, Kemet, in Egypt, where scholars, 72 scholars from the Levant came into Kemet under the leadership of the Ptolemies, or some would say Ptolemies, the kings that brought them to translate the Hebrew writing into the Greek writing, wherein came the Septuagint. And history teaches us that this Septuagint, which is basically the Torah in Greek, was the foundation of the modern day Bibles that we all know about, that has come wide and far throughout the history, the Septuagint. But it's only so interesting that this Septuagint was translated in a library where we had the scrolls that were confiscated from all over the temple, all over the ancient land by the Ptolemies or the Ptolemy kings, who stole the scrolls from the different temples of Ptah and the temples of Amun and the temples of Sekhmet, and they took all the sacred writings and brought them back to Alexander and Alexandria and put them in the museum. The museum, and it is the museum which annexed the library, the great library that was destroyed. So all of the sacred knowledge of Kemet, all the ancient stories, all the ancient myths, if you want to call them that, was registered on the scrolls and the different writings. And it was in that same temple where the 70 and 2 came and produced their Septuagint. Now the book that they translated the Septuagint from, which is the Hebrew Torah, that cannot be found nowhere. Nobody knows nothing about that, where that is. May have got lost in war or some sort of disaster, but it can't be found. But the same scrolls, although the scrolls were destroyed in the fire too, but the story of Kemet, it's the same thing. The theology of ancient Egypt, ancient Kush, has been seen on the walls, which is really hard to destroy, and other writings and papyri and scrolls as well. And this is why there's such a strong similarity with a lot of the biblical narrative and the ancient North African cosmology, really. The Naunet, the Nu, as we showed you before, the Nu is Noah. Noah in Arabic is Nu. If you read the Quran, when it speaks about Noah, the real translation is Nu. You know, Allah is the best Noah. Nu. And in Kemet, the man that carried the boat with the 8 people, what's his name? Nu. You understand? So and there was no confusion in Africa that the story of Nu and Naunet was a creation story. That's why we always drew them as water. They're symbolic of water. The Noah story is a creation story. The numbers, the 2 and the 7, which is 27, and the 7 and the 2, which is 72. All of that as well. Just like Shakespeare added his name in Psalms 46, the 46th word from the beginning is shake, and the 46th word from the back is spear. Shakespeare. You can't tell me that's the word of God. That's Shakespeare that did that kind of trick there. The whole 7 and 2, 7 of and 2 of, remember I just said it's 72. 72 writers that went into the temple at Alexandria to so-called translate the quote-unquote Hebrew scripts into the Greek Septuagint, supposedly. 72, but the 72 is a deep number. So the science there, the 7 and the 2, or the 2 and the 7, still science again. We just passed the 27th of September, Maskell, and the 72 alone stands out as the cycle of the sun, 1 degree every 72 years. And this is a lot of solar worship going on here. So it's high science that you're reading there, man, in many cases. And it is a creation story. That's why it takes 2 of every animal. That's why God told, or the Lord told Noah, replenish the earth. And that's why it's written twice in many cases too, not just 2 people playing chess, It's just one story in a different time. Because listen to me now, man. Remember, you have the Epic of Gilgamesh as well. The flood story is said to be, more than any other story, the most found narrative in the different cultures, the flood story. So you find it almost in Chinese, Japanese, Mesoamerican, the Ionites, the Bible, the Quran, the Indians, the Gilgamesh vibration, Sumerians, Tibet, and different parts of Africa. You have the story of a man building a boat and getting all 2 of every animals, putting them in the boat, and God flood out the world and kill everything. The first rainbow appear, and everything, we all live happily ever after. It does sound like a bedtime story. It does sound so. No disrespect to it. There was an old lady that lived in a shoe, and it has that sound. A man that built a boat and got 2 of every animal. It have that kind of nursery rhymes twist to it, because that's what it is to a degree. That's our ancient nursery rhyme. We take the reality of it. I'm not mocking it. I really am not mocking it. That's why I would say it is a true story. It's much more real than many of us think. We think it's real. Oh, it's a true story. Yeah, it's true, but how true? Really true is not no boat and no 2 animals. It's a cosmic expression. It's particles colliding as well in the real world, and coming together to form, existence, organs and organelles and organisms, and black holes and supernovas, and cells, reproduction. That's what all animal business is about, And I always consider the ark itself. Remember, the term ark is a very high term. Anywhere you see the word ark, it definitely has to do with the presence of God, the security of God. 4 and 20 elders were there in the ark. The ark is a very deep thing. The ark of the covenant. The Moses was put in an ark, and the ark of Noah. That is why Noah to me is a God figure. Noah is really the God in the story, as he's the one that overlooked from one world unto the next world, a new creation, and it could also represent from passing one stage, because this world that we live in here, the world that exists here, I can tell you, it will not last forever. It will come to a catastrophic end. You better believe it. And it is those who will be in tune with nature, let's put it that way, that will cross over and be safe in the ark into the next world. And I don't think 2 of every animal. I believe the vast majority of the animals are going to make it. But very few people seem like they're on track and prepared to go into the next level of this thing. Because this world, the world that comes with this system and all that is attached to it, if I start to talk, I'll just talk forever, it's going down. You better believe it. So you've got to be in tune with nature. You've got to be in tune with the essence. You got to be in tune with yourself. That's why knowledge and information is like almost the beginning stage, and that's why I insist that you apply it now. Make it become a part of you. Don't just be talking it and it sounds nice. It's not entertainment. You apply it now to your movements in general. So, but the Noah story to me is a creation story. You hear the Nation of Islam speak about the wheel. That is an ark too, the wheel. And I definitely, for sure, know that there are highly technological crafts out there. Yeah, man, I'm positive of that. Not no space business, you know. Well, they may be in space, because Earth is in space, but they're highly intelligent beings amongst us that we're not even aware of. Some of us are they, yeah, you know. But so the whole science of creating a ship, not just an old rusty boat, you know, but a ship and a craft that can withstand disaster, flood, etc., is not nothing too hard for me to believe. But I'm just trying to show you that those of us who follow this narrative, that the Noah story and the boat, the thing that they show you on the TV and the thing that we learn in Sunday school, that is pure slavery. That is real psychological captivity. When we believe that and we envision that and see the giraffe and the two horses climbing up the ladder going into the boat, this is some really crazy stuff. That is madness. If your mind is there, on them level there. As I said, all stories belong to Anansi. Yeah? And if anybody have anything to say, the waters were upwards to 22 feet. 22 feet of water flood planet Earth. 22 feet. Now tell me, does that make sense? Mount Everest and Mount Dashan and Mount Kilimanjaro. Which mountain goat you kill with that 22 feet? When we say you drown everything, you know, they have some animals, you have to go up in the mountain, you know. They're not coming down nothing lower than 1,000 feet, you know. So now you're going to tell me that God used the same spell, that he took all the animals that came on the boat from wherever they came from. He used that same spell to make every gorilla come out of the mountain, make every mountain goat and all the snow leopard come out of the mountain to the flat ground and lay down flat so that the 22 feet of water can cover them. What did you get? Because Noah's Ark, you know, the weight that Noah's Ark would be carried with all them elephant and rhinoceros and walruses and these big animals, there's no way that Noah's Ark could roll in 22 feet of water, which is half of the height of Noah's Ark. Because the moment that the animals come into Noah's Ark, you know, Noah's Ark going to sink a bit more. And it is 30 cubits high. And the water is 15 cubic high. So it just, come on, man. Come on. No, as we say, don't purge your conscience, as they call it. Come on, man. That ship going to sink like the Titanic. You're going to have to run into something. It's not making no sense. Because it was not written for you to accept it in that form. And again, it's coming from older writings. And even with J and P playing chess, once you can get your mind away from the Sunday school lessons, even if you were thinking like J and P, you would understand the true meaning of that esoteric, allegorical story of Noah and the ark. Holy Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah Rastafari. And no disrespect, but if you go to church, take that with you on Sunday. Marcus I, Selassie I, Jah Rastafari. Give thanks. I'm sure you're going to laugh when I say this if you know your Bible. and you know your history, and you do not know your history. Well, yeah, if you know your Bible and you know your history, the knowledge of your Bible would not be a mystery. That's a good twist there. And remember, it takes some real eyes to realize the real eyes that are amongst us. Yes, family. Moving on. Subscribe to the Mystic Vibrations Shock of the Hour program today and never miss another episode. The Shock of the Hour is a Radio Anu exclusive program produced every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. By now, I am sure that you are aware that all our programs are packed with information, inspiration, mystic vibrations, as well as hot button topics. Every evening we enter into a different dimension, even if it is a part 2 of the previous program, whether it's history or mystery, biology or philosophy, domestic affairs or the locks of your hair. The mystic vibration is sure to bring something new and interesting to the table every evening. So never miss another episode again. Subscribe to the Shock of the Hour now. And don't forget your key Swahili word of the day and your daily scientific fact. So, to subscribe, give us an email, priestisaac27@gmail.com, or call or WhatsApp us today. Area code 1268-728-3162. The Shock of the Hour. Never miss another program. And a special note to all our new subscribers. All our new subscribers will receive a special copy of the DVD documentary, full length, The Night of the Black Tiger, The Divinity of Marcus Messiah God.